agenda on its own.
We're fine.
Agenda. Wow, that's sucky. No, but it's right here. The agenda's right here. Why didn't it mail it? We upload the agenda, it's supposed to mail it.
Can you send the link to the
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to them in this right away.
No, I like it. Okay, but doesn't that have it?
Dave, I do have a password here. Do you want to try it or?
Yeah.
No way I can break it.
Oh, for last minute things. Oh, goodbye. Bye bye.
Oh, hi. Thank you.
Okay, well, I mailed that. There, it's in the archive now. It must be there. So, notes. Yeah.
So you guys are gonna go for the straight 45 minutes, right? Like you don't need a Q&A time in the end. It's kind of all incorporated.
No,
Yes. Okay.
but the Q&A always actually
Yeah,
someone
right.
want to say something.
Okay, so we might need to pass the microphone
Yeah.
around. Okay.
We have 45 minutes.
Yeah, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
40
already,
minutes
it's,
because
yeah,
it's not start.
it's already,
But
it's already
40
20
minutes
minutes.
should be okay.
I mean, it's all to your discretion to go later.
But we do have an extra 15 minutes.
Yeah, the hearing is canceled. It's just replaced by a shorter thing. So
Yeah.
feel free to drift if you want.
Really want to.
That's the login over there. Because it's an alias I just happened to have around that wasn't.
That's another million just now. I feel fine. I feel like I've been worried. I need to send me my medicine.
So, those slides
I feel
available.
fine. I feel fine.
Yeah, you get to see shared. You get this year on that. No, it's the other way around. You want to get this year on that.
I did, yeah, it did show.
I think this is fine and any presentation you know.
I think we're, yeah, I think I just want to refresh the
Yeah,
page.
basically what it is. I don't know whether. Yeah, so there's a feedback from that camera and
Okay, all right. Or we can pass the mic around a little bit more civilized.
Share. Hey, did that work?
No, the thing is, you said the video device is already.
Statement.
Oh, you can't hear it fast? Yeah, video cannot be started. That's fine, we got the camera.
Oh, and we have picture in picture. No, not quite. You know, we can aim that at that.
Also, Jerome, you could share the link to the YouTube stream in the
Submit that.
Yeah, but there's a lag of 20, 30 seconds,
Oh.
so I don't think that's
Alright, you're
very
better off
useful.
staying.
Yeah, no, it's okay, because if someone's having a problem with the echo, they can switch to YouTube and do it 30 seconds, right?
Yeah,
At one point I was like, I'm gonna put down a mammal again.
Yeah, so we should make sure all of our microphones are off on our laptops, which is fine.
Okay. Welcome back from lunch, everyone. I hope you had a nice meal. My name is Yvonne. I'm going to be your stage coordinator for the rest of the afternoon, the last afternoon of Untitled 6. Just a slight schedule change. Alexander Stan very graciously moved his time slot till 4:50 this afternoon to give the IETF-CELLAR working group a bit more time for their session. So now we'll have this for the next 45 minutes. And it will be a working group meeting. We'll have people joining remotely. Michael Richardson will be moderating. But if people in the room want to ask questions or participate, we just put up your hand and we'll pass the mic around, throughout the whole session. So there won't be a Q&A at the end. So I'll hand it off to you, Michael.
I have to turn it on. You have to turn it on, then it works. Good. But if I turn it on and off, does that reset it? No, okay. IT crowd fans, please raise your hand. Also, we brought the internet today. But anyway, okay, so hi, my name is Michael Richardson, well, I'll tell you what, just tell me your name as we go on.
Hi, I'm Michael.
Yeah.
Steve.
Jérôme Martinez.
Dave Rice.
And we have a few other people that regularly join us, which I don't see online or here. And what you've joined us is now is our monthly meeting, which normally would be Tuesday at 9 p.m. At the last Tuesday of the month, and we moved it from Tuesday of this week to Friday this time. So this is in some way a bit of a performance theater, if you like, for what we're going to do. And so IETF sessions are generally quite interactive. So, please interrupt. And this is a working group session in that sense. So what we're going to do. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the IETF and what the work itself. And I said normally it would be longer because we thought we had half an hour, but we don't. We had more time than that. Most of the work in the IETF happens by email. The IETF itself started around 1987. I'll come back to that. And we now have this sophisticated tool called MeetEcho, which you are seeing now, which is used by 5 or 6 other conferences, and it's not Zoom, as I can tell you. It's very heavily customized for our hybrid and fully online meetings, and you can use it too. You could have used it for this meeting, but it is actually extremely high designed for having rooms full of people and then some people remote. Our goal is to get you involved. So who's the IETF? So I put together a couple of things. This is what my mother thinks I do, right? Which is run around and do weird, stuff in a mask or some security stuff. My friends think it involves a lot of cables and stuff like this, and they're partly right, but mostly wrong. What I think it is that we're designing some new beautiful architecture for the future involving, something there. In practice, my experience is it's mostly arguments, and when they go badly, they work out like on Friends, where no one quite listened to each other, and we were on a break, and we should have split up or something like that. So the IETF is the Internet Engineering Task Force, and we got one more slide here, what I tell my dentist, right? You know that thing in your browser that says HTTP? Yeah, that's our protocol. We designed that in the 1990s, and it wasn't our first protocol. There's a whole bunch of other layers there. The layer is everything below that point, down to just above the physical layer. So we don't design connectors and we don't design electrical systems, but from that layer all the way up and above us, HTML, the thing we heard this morning about the problems with the browser, what was it called, the Ukraine thing where the browser and the infinite scroll, and if you have a robot, it can't go by. Well, that's not our problem. That's an HTML JavaScript problem. There's another standards organization above us that deals with that, and I don't do that. I don't personally do any of that stuff. I'm involved mostly in network security stuff, and I was actually brought in to co-chair this working group with these fine gentlemen because apparently I know something about how to get the document through the process. And that's a little bit of arcane knowledge, and anyone who works in a government department understands that, getting your document or your policy up through the right approvals is, a job in itself. But I have met all those people that have done those things, and we're a relatively small, very open community, and if you have some interest in somehow getting involved in HTTP or QUIC, or DNS or anything like this, you can do it for essentially no cost. We don't have a membership. We're a meritocracy. We don't often know who's enfranchised, and we have a complicated process as a result. So we don't have votes because we don't have everyone in the whole planet's enfranchised, and we don't know who we would count. So as I said, we also do all these other things, which you've probably heard of. IPsec is for instance, the thing that I have worked on for 25 years. Has nothing to do with this effort here. So we did this codec called Opus in the early 2010s. And we did it because all the other codecs and voice codecs had terrible IPR issues, and the people that were building SIP and WebRTC based systems wanted something that would be decent and wouldn't be plagued with IPR claims left, right, and center. And as a result of that good work, as I understand it, the AV community came to the IETF and said, we'd really like to standardize what is essentially Matroska. And it was formed in 2015. And when did I join? 2018? Yeah, it's Terry. So basically there was a fellow from Mozilla who was overworked and they needed some help. So this working group, we published RFC 7894, which is EBML, Extended Binary Markup Language. It's a little bit like an XML without all the insanity. And we published that in 2020. And we published FFE1 for version 0, 1, and 3, if I got that right, in August of 2021. And the Matroska document, which is of course an instance of EBML, I think we're pretty close, right guys? So there. Almost all of our meetings, so while the IETF meets 3 times a year, even in pandemic, we still had 3 one-week online plenary sessions, even though it would have made more sense to have it differently. And so we have a meeting in a week and a half in London. That'll be our 3rd meeting back from pandemic. But this group meets only as what we call virtual interims. So that means they're completely online. We use this tool that you're seeing now. They're mostly working group sessions. We try to avoid slideware, as you're seeing now. Anyone can join. There are no fees, there's no membership, and it really is a meritocracy. Say smart things and we'll listen to you. If you're rude or violate our code of conduct, there may be sanctions, and we have a 500 email long debate going on right now about one historic core contributor who has been an asshole, and we're basically kicking him out, and people are arguing over whether that's a good thing or not. So we finally started to take our code of conduct seriously. That's probably a good thing. So working group itself, that may be a little bit small to see, maybe even on the big board. So this is our data tracker. This is also a bespoke application, open source. You could implement it yourself for your own group if you like, but again, it does what we need. And this is a view of the documents that are in our working group. So you can go to datatracker.ietf.org. For IPR reasons, you often need to log in, and that's not because we're afraid of our intellectual property being stolen, but because if you contribute something and it turns out that what you contributed, you had intellectual property claims on, then that gets us in trouble. In other words, you wind up being in a position to sue the other people. And so we want to be sure that if you contributed something, that we know who contributed it. And that's the only reason we have a login, and they're available for anyone. Okay. We do a lot of our work on GitHub. So these guys have whatever 400 some open issues at times, and we try to work through them, figure out which ones are important, and close the ones that with pull requests that matter. And finally, there's a mailing list, and that's an image of the archive of it. So without logging in or doing anything else, you could follow the mailing list. You can follow the meetings on YouTube if you want to. But if you want to contribute again, we sort of just need to know who you are, or our lawyers need to know. And yeah, so I mentioned about the lawyers. So one of the things is by participating in the IETF, you agree to the IETF processes and policies. And if you have something to contribute and you do contribute it, and you say something, then and it turns out that you have a patent on it, then we just want you to tell us. That's all we want to know, because maybe we'll avoid your technology. And that was it. So it's obligatory. You have to put this up. Some URLs, and I mentioned them all. And I said, if you like, you could go visit them on your laptop or this kind of stuff. And I'm going to end this part of the presentation here. Right? And my co-chair did not show up, which is interesting. So he's in Texas somewhere. Yeah, well, I don't know what happened with that. Stop slideshow. Oh, I know. Yeah, so we have to go over there and do we? Yeah, we stop the video from there. Can you just click on the thing that the upper left that says that has the video camera icon?
Video camera icon. Presentation view? It's not a video camera.
It's okay, I'll do it.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So now I think I'm supposed to do this. Oh, I know. Oh, I know. I stopped. It's my fault. It's not their fault. Sorry. Yes. So we're going to go into what we hope is our working group session. And over here, we should be able to have the note-taking tool. Open. So you may have seen Etherpad, and then it got renamed, and then it got renamed, and now it's called HedgeDoc. And so this is what we do. We wind up sharing a common thing. We and everyone else, all of NTTW, I guess, right? So among the group up here, did you read the minutes from last time? I guess not, since I apparently didn't post them until 10 minutes ago. So I thought they were automatically posted when I posted them to the system. So I guess we won't do this part here, no. We'll have to do that next time. No. Okay. Overall status, Matroska was updated. I think we're past 11, I thought, aren't we? Steve?
Yes, I sent one version. Yeah, it's not showing up over there.
Oh. Okay, cool. You get local control over what you get to see. You can go to told you this was performance theater. Someone's gonna have to push the down button, as we go through that point. Anyone else use HeadDoc or Etherpad to have meetings online, collaboratively create things? Yeah, it's basically just a big editor, and you can fight over who gets to type what. Okay, and the other cool thing is that someone's taking notes and writing along and spells something wrong, and someone else corrects you and fixes the name of the person whose name you got wrong. So what was it we posted?
Yeah, I posted version 14 on the
14.
On the 1st of October.
Right. Okay.
And it says submitted to IESG for publication.
Right.
So
So when we thought we had less time, I was going to do a diagram of what this means. So submitted to IESG for publication. So the way that the IETF is architected is that, so we have all of us who are working and contributing, me who's the co-chair of the working group, and then I report to an area director who's in charge of the whole area, and there are 13 or 14 of them, and they are supposed to be the managers of the organization. None of us get paid by the IETF. We're all of our employers have volunteered our time. And my manager, the AD, the joke was it's a 50% commitment of his time, but it's a 50% of an 80-hour work week. So it's a bit of a joke, but it's become a full-time job, unfortunately. So now we've asked him, he says, we're ready, our document is ready. Would you please review it? And if it's okay, then you'll advance it to the next level. And then what will happen is that those other 14 people will review it, and then we'll get a series of comments and discusses, and it works by rough consensus, which is not the same as the Quaker system of consensus, but is similar. So you could have objections, but you can't have too many, is what the point is. So we're going to do that next, and that will be the next step for that thing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So on the status page, it says 80 evaluations on 22 days, and it says it's supposed to be under 14 days.
Yeah.
And then action orders and Murray, 21 days, it's supposed to be under 20 days.
Yeah, so we're not making our service level agreements, are we? I'm gonna apologize for Murray.
It's a 200-page document.
It's a 200-page document, but and also his co-AD has just returned from maternity leave a week ago, so he's been holding the fort down for 2 people for about 4 months. So I imagine he will catch up in the next couple of weeks, and I hope that we will be in at the IESGQ by Christmas, perhaps earlier. Depends on how many comments he has about this. And this is a 200-page document, right? Which you can review. 150 pages of it are element descriptions, right? So,
yes, and a lot of it is also in the EBML RFC, which is 50 pages. So they have to know that before they start doing the Matroska.
that's true, but he's already reviewed that one, so he should be okay with that. We published the one. Okay, so milestone review. Okay, so one of our other documents is this FLAC system, and Jerome was talking this morning about, I noticed that, yeah, EML, FLAC, and, you know, Matroska as your container, your single file container for, what was it called? Raw cooked. Yeah, there you go, raw cooked. So that's an implementation of our spec, essentially, right? So that's really cool to hear about.
We have Matroska for the container part, FFG1 for video part, and FLAC for the audio part, and everything inside that is for lossless content.
So the first two are RFCs already, which I mentioned earlier, and then FLAC is work in progress. And so we did not make our July 2022 milestone. And what do you think?
Well, we had a working group last call.
Yeah.
And it's almost ended.
Yep.
And we've had a lot of comments, and they've all been processed. So I guess the next step is to wait for write-up.
Okay. So they've been processed, but you haven't posted the revision.
Yes.
You did repost it, okay. So that's cool, so that's what's just update. So revised document, so, but I don't remember seeing the revised document, but maybe I missed it. Sunday. Posted, okay, so, ready for Shepherd write-up. An 80 review. Yes, type. So that's good. So we didn't make it by July, but we made it by October. So I'm really happy about that. Do you want to summarize any major changes that you want to talk about?
Well, FLAC at some point was developed in 2001, and the original author wrote a nice document about how FLAC is supposed to work, or how FLAC is structured, but a lot of details were missing. So currently we have a document where all the details should be in. It should now be a document where you don't have to look at the source code of FLAC implementation to make your own. This document became, I think, 4 times as large as it was in first place. So it's come a long way. A lot of people have been involved in reading it and finding things they would like to have explained better.
I just mentioned Martin. I said your name wrong again, didn't I? Martin. Yeah, Martin has basically jumped into this in the spring of this year.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically jumped in pretty late and took over this, and we're extremely pleased about this. And I don't think you've been involved in the IETF at all ever before, right? So really cool, and you could be the next one anyway if you looking at this is a small working group. Some working groups have 300 members, and process 10 documents at the same time, but ours is not so big. And we need people to read the documents, right? And particularly if you read the document and you say, I don't understand something that is so useful, it's terribly useful, or this sentence is nonsense, you might even say, that's really, really useful to us to know. Okay, so moving on, we're going to move on to Matroska. So we just learned that it's submitted to the ISG for publication. Were there any other things that we needed to talk about that might still be open? I'm hoping
No, so I got your answer. We just merged the request to add a track 1 codec, audio codec into the codec specification, but for now we're not working on that one. But
right.
it's like really on topic for this conference because they try to get a track one from what Sony.
Right, Sony discs. Yeah, right.
To actually be able to read the contents with a FlatPeg and have a sustainable way to keep the files before they die, and with the original codec.
So we have a separate document. You could implement Matroska without any codecs, which would be bizarre, but it might be interesting if all you cared about was, say, showing what you had a player that simply wanted to show you what the chapters of the movie were, right? That would be a possibility. You would never need to decode the codecs, because you're never playing the content, but you could tell people, this is the parts of the movie or the other thing. Go ahead.
I wanted to say, with this example, it is a big example about how to participate to Matroska. The people behind the abstract codec wanted to have support in Matroska, and they are not part of the working group. But they come and they say, okay, I need to have a support for my codec. It can be bizarre. We don't care actually. We accept any codec from anyone, and we reserve a specific codec ID for this specific codec. So the barrier is not big. You just have to write to the Matroska mailing list, say, oh, I need something. What can we do? And can I reserve something for me?
So the list of codecs, though, what I was trying to get at, to come to step slightly back. So the list of codecs is in a separate document, and in that document, we have a list of codecs. I think we have like 50 of them, or around that number. Yeah, in that list. And one of the things in that document is it says that if you have a new codec and you want to have an identity for it, then there's a process by which we ask you to go through, and you just say, you basically just email a thing, and it'll go into a table, and we have there's paid people in California who keep track of this table. It's just an XML table, and if the person who asks follows the right instructions, which in some cases just means, hi, my name is Bob, my codec is called ATDRAC1, and the definition of my format is in this website here, then you would get an identity would be added for you, and this is what happened for these guys who were doing the Sony, what are they called, Discman? Mini disc, yeah. Only person I ever saw have one was my brother, and all of his mini discs were labeled "Walking to School Music," and then a date, and I don't know what, I never quite knew what was on them, but something cool. And then his mini disc player, died, and I wonder if he could recover all that stuff now. So
you still need the hardware.
yeah, I still need hardware. Okay. All right. So that happened, and our next step, I think, is going to be working on the Matroska codec. We need to write the IANA considerations for this, which means we have a whole bunch of different things. I was going to put up a slide, but I thought we would run out of time. There's a whole bunch of different possibilities, from you have to have an IETF consensus document that's been extensively reviewed and an RFC published, that's like the highest level, to any document in a stable place will be fine, to, I wrote this document at this other standards organization and they did something would be fine, down to this is my name and address and you can contact me here. And then, there's a whole range of different things we have to decide what is. It's probably going to be more towards the lower end of things, for that. If someone comes along and proves they're not a spam bot, that, we'll give them a number and it'll be done. We just have to write that down in the document and see how it works. We said there's no FLAC issues left. That's notes from last time. And then I guess one of the last things, because I think we have about 5 minutes left here.
Should you want to talk about EBA now?
Oh yeah, okay. So let's go to other business. I'll just close this other note I was going to say about, we have a new version of FFV1 that we are I guess, say planning.
Which we plan
Yeah.
to start from that we
And-
plan to do it.
And so one of the questions is essentially there are some bits and pieces that V3 doesn't do, and we have a V4 conceived, but we don't yet have I would say, a big enough reason to step forward. And so you might have some ideas of things you want in a video codec that you could help share with us would be great, even if you don't know how to implement it. Requirements are as good as implementation, right? Okay, so you go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, you remember for EBML, we had some changes. People discover bugs in the specifications, and also we found some issues as well. So there's like 8 errata to add to the document. And we postponed it until Matroska was ready in case we need big changes in the document. And now that Matroska is in the pipe, we can actually go back to EBML and send the errata and actually found a way to do it. So I will probably do it this weekend.
So that's cool. So the RFC, there's a site called the rfceditor.org, which is the authoritative site for all of the RFCs, all 9,500 of them. And on that website, so the RFCs are immutable, which is often very frustrating to people when they find spelling mistakes. We don't reissue them ever. What we will do is 2 things. Is either you can post in errata, which is what Steve is going to do, and there's actually a way, if it's done in XML, that we can show you the RFC plus the errata, and we'll say to you, but this is not normative because we can't be sure, and then what will happen is we'll respin and we'll produce a new RFC with a new number with the errata included. But we probably won't do that for maybe at least a year, just because it would take us that long to get there anyway, after our other documents are done. If you find errata or things that could be written better, then you can also do that. You can also submit things through the GitHub, which is also very useful, but understand the GitHub is totally not normative at this point. Anything else from you guys?
Yeah, it's something not exactly related to that, but the whole Matroska specification is based on one big XML file that is generating actually the specifications for all the elements in Matroska, and that code is also used in MK2Mix and also in my tools MK Validator and MK Clean. And I regenerated all the code recently, since now everything is stable. And so basically the code matches exactly the spec from now.
So what you're telling me is we have spec-driven code.
Yes.
That's kind of useful since there's quite a number of elements.
And I already did the work to do the same for FMPEG, the demuxer, I think.
Okay.
It was not merged, but I need to update the code. And one of the questions was if the XML should be integrated into the XML, the FMPEG code, or if it should be outside. That's up for discussion, but basically we can do the FMPEG code as well based on the spec.
It raises an interesting question about the XML code, but I'm not going to bring it up here. It's too pedantically weird. But thank you for telling us that. So that's good. So anything else from the room? Any questions? Oh, awesome. Question. It's a weird question.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kate Leonard from the Library of Congress, and this is a bit of a secret question, but did the proposed media type for Matroska change recently? So was it something else, and now it's gonna be video / Matroska or audio / Matroska? In previous versions?
There used to be unofficial because it wasn't registered, so I think it was video / X-Matroska that still exists, but now because according to the IETF rules, that kind of name is deprecated.
Okay.
So we made a new one saying also that the old one exists, so people know that they might have to support those. But the official one is video/Matroska.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and actually, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, because what we would really like is all of the encoders, writers, to start using the new one immediately. But of course, that would be stupid, because the players don't know about it. So what we actually need is all of the players to start supporting both as there, and then some few years in the future, we need all the encoders to start using ideally the official one. But that's like kind of a pedantic, silly thing. So the reality is that both will be out in the field forever. You know, when people dig up your archive of video content in 4500, the year 4500, they'll probably still say video/X Matroska, and that's okay.
Here, Radoslav Markov, same TTC, 10E and 41FS. I would like to ask you, do you feel a need for extending future-proof the essence type in MKV? Because my personal opinion that right now, maybe it's a limited a limited type of essence.
Did you understand the question?
No, but I think the question is, do we want to submit it to SMPTA?
No. This is the second question right now.
Okay, so the answer is no.
I feel that you anyway need to interact with SMT because for any reason. No, the question is in MKV there is a field which name of the type of the essence. Video, audio.
We have video, audio, but also over. So it is an informal part saying that everything beginning with B underscore is for video, and everything beginning with A underscore is audio, but you can accept every kind of essence. So which kind of essence would you like to embed in the media, in Matroska?
Right now, don't know, and that is my question. Is it future-proof? Is it preview all the kind of essence that can be?
It is just a letter. Actually, in Matroska, it is very neutral about the kind of essence you have. So we plan to add a time code, for example, and we will see how we put that in Matroska. But as a container, Matroska is very neutral about the block it transports.
Yes, but how we can describe the type of essence?
Just
There are two fields. There's the name of the codec, which will be, it's a string, so you can pick whatever you want. Even if we prefer, as I said, a prefix with a certain letter. And there's also a track type, which it's a number. So I don't remember the number. Like for example, 1 is audio, 2 is video, 3 is subtitles, etc. And basically it's a number on 64 bits. So we have a lot of possible types.
That's not that decided. That is was my question.
There's a list of numbers that are already set, and we can add more in the future.
And that's the IANA considerations that I was talking about. Every single one of those fields has an amending formula, and some of them are complicated or involved, and some of them are trivial, right? You just need to ask something. And I also say that over in the MIND type space, in another part of the IETF, going up into the W3C, there is so we have audio / and video / and application / and image / and whatever. So they want to create a haptic hierarchy for things like vibrations and all these other things that are happening in video games. People would like to record, right? So I guess the next version of whatever it's whatever Justin TV or whatever the other video game watching things, you'll be able to enjoy, experience the motion as well as the video.
This field is future-proof. It's completed to some extent, but have a space for many other.
Yeah, 64 bits. Right now we're on the.
Is that enough for you? Because
I have a question.
I don't want to run out of 64 bits. You know?
David, you said you had a question?
Oh, yeah, I do. I know at this point that in the goals of the working group, there's only a couple items left, like the RFC for Black and Nebraska, which are close to done. I'm just wondering, like, once these RFC XMLs are uploaded, what is next for the working group? Does it get shut down or?
Well, if we come up with more work that we think we can do, then we can ask to be rechartered with the new work. That's usually well accepted. And the only time it doesn't happen is with, someone saying we should do, boil this ocean, and everyone else is like, yeah, I'm done, I'm going home, right? So yeah, we can exist for as long as there is work to do, but what they do like us to do is to bite off small chunks at a time and say what we're gonna do, and then do it, and then based on that, we get, extended. Otherwise, the working group is closed, which doesn't mean it disappears, it just means we don't necessarily have meetings. We still have a mailing list, we still have a web page, the status of the documents can change, and it's relatively easy to reopen the working group. If someone comes along and says, we need to standardize this new quantum video compression system that someone's invented, yeah, we can do that. So, anyway.
And so we're gonna have to wrap it
Yeah,
up.
Thank you so much all for letting us have this inside view into your working group meeting.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Round of applause. So right now we're going to welcome to the stage Bob Court and Lilith